Hello my quilting friends, my name is Leah Day and today I am stitching an oldie goldie design from the Free Motion Quilting Project. This is Heart Paisley. It's one of my favorite designs. So here is how to stitch it. We're going to form first a heart shape. So I'm going to swing out, and this can be a big heart, little heart, whatever you want to do, but you start at the tip, swirl around to create that initial starting shape. Now we're going to pivot and we're going to echo around it. This is a pivoting design, kind of like Paisley, and it works by forming the shape and then pivoting and echoing around it. You want to taper that echo, so start narrow and then widen out as you go around the heart and still do that little dip in at the top of the heart. That really adds to the effect. To move on with the design, this is a clustering style design. I'm just going to form another heart shape going in a slightly different direction. So just like so. You might end up having to do a bit of travel stitching. Travel stitching is stitching right on top of another line of stitching, and that builds up thread, and that makes these pivoting designs really stand out nicely. You can see how that little bit of extra thread texture is just really making the quilting stand out and show off on my fabric. So now that we've learned how to quilt it on a home sewing machine, let's learn how to stitch this on a real quilt on a long arm. All right, I'm going to give Heart Paisley a try on my long arm. This is the Unique 21X Elite. And I don't have as much control on my long arm as I do on my home sewing machine. I haven't had as much time to practice. So I am using my frame weight. This is a tube of fabric sewn, and then I have rice on the inside. That's giving me a little extra stability over my long arm, so that way I can better control where it's going. So now I'm going to come out. I'm going to form a half Heart Paisley shape, so just maybe a teardrop shape right there, and then I can travel stitch down and swing out and around for that echo. Sometimes you have to break a design in half or into a smaller chunk in order to get it to fit into your quilting area. Now let's swing out and around with a nice big Heart Paisley shape. The bigger the heart you start with, the more space it's going to take up on your quilt, and also the softer your quilt's going to be. Now this time I'm swinging out and around. I want to be careful not to hit my frame weight. I nudged it a little bit there. That'll work. There we go. And notice that I have my ruler foot attached. If I'm ever having to travel stitch along these straight lines I've already stitched, I go on ahead and grab a ruler rather than trying to freehand quilt that. Most likely I'm going to get a little bit messy. So here we go. Actually, I'm going to probably try and swing out just a little bit and then hit that echo. So let's see if I can do that. Swing out just a bit. Hit that, travel stitch along it. I'm actually pretty happy with my stitching today. I'm starting cold, so I'm pretty surprised that I have this much control. And this is just something that I've noticed because I've been stitching a whole lot more, making all of these new design videos for you guys. I've been noticing some improvement in my stitching, some nice growth there. I do get wobbles. I just had this really weird wobble that just popped up there. I don't know why that happened, but you know, I have been noticing generally though, my skills on my long arm, my travel stitching, and my precision have been getting better, so yay! All right, let's form a new shape going this way. And this is something I've said a lot, and that is, you know, practice makes perfect, and the more we practice daily, you know, even just for 5 or 10 minutes, that is something. Any amount of practice is good practice. Now I was nudging up against my frame weight too much, so I had to move it out of the way. I have it to the front of the quilt, so it's putting some pressure on the quilt, just kind of at an angle, and I think that's going to work well. Travel stitching over, trying not to let this get messy, and then also trying to change my direction of my heart shapes occasionally. Now for reference, just so you can see the size of this is roughly a 1-inch scale. You know, each globe of the heart is about 1/2 inch. And then as I come in with my echo is on a 1/2-inch scale. So I have about 1/2 inch between those lines of stitching. I'm not going to take a ruler to it. It doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfect. But the scale of your design, the distance between those lines of stitching, that really determines how soft your quilt's going to be. And if you want your quilt to be nice and soft and cuddly, then you want to pay attention to that and not stitch too densely. Now, if it's an art quilt, a show quilt, all bets are off. You definitely want to stitch densely on a quilt of that style. But for bed quilts, we really want it to be soft and cuddly. So I am really happy with how this is coming out. It's actually flowing really easily. I feel like my echoes are controlled and I haven't let this get too messy. So I'm actually really, really happy with it. And here's what it looked like whenever I finished quilting Heart Paisley.